Mayor, we're live.
Yeah, turn it on, we're live, top mic, we're live. Got the mic on, I don't know if they can hear us, but we're live. Just let you know we're live.
Let's start.
Okay. Testing, yes.
Then we got 5 minutes. We went on to make sure it's working.
Hi, how are you, Eddie? Great. Let me turn my phone off.
These are the original tapes, if anybody wants to see a tape, from the city council, for each of the locations, the tapes should automatically match your zone. Okay, so we have, this is what we're really going through, is the board registrar's giving you sheets of his, and the two that count. These are the ones that do count. So when I open the box, like, if you ask me to open a box, I open the box, we're gonna say, oh, that one goes in the pile that count. We're gonna find these names, they go in the pile that do count, these names go in the pile that don't count, right? Same with all these, all that's what these count. So we get them separated out. It requires you to go through each one of these, like that one's 50. This is that one, to pull out these PB3s and verify that the board of registrars, what we're going to do at the same time as sort them to count and not count, they give you a reason on that, do not count ballot. So those would go in a stack with the do not count. Okay? So we'll go through those, that's the first one, they're in order. This is what we're doing. So we'll go through those, we'll get them all sorted. Once we get them all sorted, we can open the ballot, the envelopes that they're in. Once we open the envelopes, then take the secrecy back, only the ones that count are the ones that open those envelopes. The other ones will just stay in the box. We'll open those, we'll get all the secrecy envelopes and we'll mix them up and start opening and read the results. Everybody tallies.
We had this time 4 years ago.
I know.
Well, we have a few, but there were just very few, you know. This time there's a lot more. Just like there were huge, a lot more absentee ballots this time around. I think it was like 180 last time absentee ballots. This time there were like 500.
Yeah. And some of it probably because of the pandemic, too.
Last time I think they were like 3 or 4.
City council canvassing meeting.
This time there were like 4.
Really?
But only 21 counted.
Hmm. Okay.
1 minute.
And I'll call roll.
How are y'all?
Hey, Tiffany.
Okay. There you are. We'll turn you on.
Ready?
Hold on a second.
Yeah, 1 minute.
Should be ready to go in just a minute.
I'd like to call the Opelika City Council, call the meeting of September the 1st, 2020 to order. Call roll, please, Mr. Jones.
Ms. Jones.
Here?
Ms. Pitts.
Here.
Mr. Smithy.
Here.
Mr. Cannon. Mr. Smith.
Here. We have a couple of things that we need to do. Our purpose for being here today is to canvass the votes, and we'll begin by canvassing the provisional votes. Mr. Jones.
Okay, so we had no provisional votes in Ward 1 or Ward 3. So the first provisional vote that we're going to go through would be Ward 2, then we'll follow to Ward 4, Ward 5, and absentee. So me and Mr. President Smith are going to go through this list that we were provided by the Board of Registrars. We will open each provisional box, dig out the ballot. If it counts, it goes in a pile of counted. If it doesn't count, it goes in another pile of not counted. The not counted votes will then end up going back into the provisional boxes. The ones that are determined to be counted will then be opened by President Smith and I. We will then shuffle the secrecy envelopes that each ballot is in, so to not know whose vote is what. No names will be called, so nobody has to worry about that. And then we will open up the secrecy envelopes containing the ballots. We will read each ballot as it is opened. If each council member will then, and including city attorney and myself, will keep a tally of each vote that is read aloud. At the end, when we get to the final one, we will all compare our tallies and make sure that all the votes that have been read match. If there is a discrepancy, we'll read the votes again, okay? So we need to all agree on the votes that are read, the tallies match, and then those tallies and votes will be added to the subtotals, at which time we'll add it to the resolution, and then we'll need to adopt the resolution. So per the Board of Registrars, this vote from Ward 2 was not accepted, it was rejected. So this vote will stay in the provisional box. Moving on to Ward 4, we had 5 of 17 that were accepted. We will pull out the 5 that were accepted and leave the 17 that were not accepted in the box. All right, so don't read any names. We just need to verify that the ones we get out are correct. Okay, that goes in a not counted pile. Not counted. Wait, that's counted. Counted. Not counted. Counted.
Mhm.
Not counted. Not counted. Not counted. Not counted.
Well, this is the second time we saw that name twice. Mhm. And then, okay, see what the last one is.
They're two different names. They wrote it in right here.
So I think she,
They wrote it in right here.
oh, okay, yeah, thank you.
This one.
Well, there it is,
Can.
yeah, not counted.
Right. Not counted.
Counted.
Counted. Well, that doesn't count. This one.
Not counted.
Counted.
Not counted.
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 Not counted.
Not counted.
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 So again, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, not counted. Not count, stay in the box. Okay, this is our count pile. Moving on to Ward 5.
Mr. President, could I just explain what all this is about?
Yes.
Generally, when people show up at the polls, the polling officials have a list of qualified voters. But there are gonna be some people that show up and say, their names are not on that list, and they're gonna say, well, I'm really registered to vote and I'm entitled to vote. And so what they do is they cast a provisional ballot. And, because their name is not on the polling list that's supplied to the election officials. Those ballots are taken to the Board of Registrars, and the Board of Registrars looks at their records to see whether or not these people are really entitled to vote, and they make findings, and then they return those findings to the city council to do the canvassing of the votes. Now, the city clerk doesn't know how these people voted, so there's no way for him to tally the votes preceding this, this meeting of the city council. Now, why would somebody's name not be on the polling list? Well, you know, obviously, some of these polling places overlap county precincts, so somebody may show up and say, I'm a registered voter, but they're not entitled to vote in a city election because they live outside of the city limits. Some people may have moved from one district to another district and didn't get put on the correct polling list. Their name may be on another precinct's list. So those are some examples of reasons a person's name might not be on the official list. But anyway, the Board of Registrars makes the decision of whether or not their vote should count or not count. And so we're going through the process of canvassing those votes, those provisional votes. There's not going to be enough of these votes to change the outcome of any election, because I believe there are 21 votes, provisional votes, that will count.
She wasn't on the
So
list.
even if somebody got 21 votes, it wouldn't change the election results in this instance. But we have to go through the process and tally these votes up. I hope that makes some sense. We used to call these, not too long ago, challenged votes. But now we call them provisional votes. So that is the process, and it involves the city council and the Board of Registrars.
Should be 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Now, Mr. Jones has the tapes from all of the voting instruments, these electronic scanners that are used. And if anyone wants to see those tapes to make sure that the tapes coincide with the numbers shown on the proposed resolution, you're certainly welcome to do that.
These are the tapes. All right.
This one is for,
No, not gonna read names, we're gonna shuffle these.
Oh.
Here, I'm gonna do this on the floor. It's gonna be a little bit easier for me to shuffle these. Well, now let's open these up first to get the secrecy on those, and then we'll shuffle them.
right.
These have names on them, so. Sorry, I got a big knife here.
Say this. He wasn't kidding.
It's a big knife. That was to open my boxes, but I'm just gonna do it for the these as well. So you'll set that on your other side there. Goes on the other side there. There you go. Sorry, there's 22 of these. That one's not even sealed.
No, the last three hadn't been.
Like, they're in multiple envelopes, so not going anywhere. Well, it's got the affidavit in it. Okay. Let's stick that back in. Her box. Oh, the absentee ones have the affidavit, that's right. And I'll keep those with all the other affidavits for absentee ballots. Absentee process is a little bit different than precinct process. Let's see what. That's it. So if you'll shuffle those up somehow, some way, or you want me to do it, I can. That's it. All right, now I'm gonna open each one and we'll read the results, and if everybody will keep a tally, and we'll compare our tallies at the end to make sure everybody's got the same thing. All right, first ballot. The vote is for Tiffany Gibson Pitts and Brandon Fincher. Second vote is for Gary Fuller and Brandon Fincher. I need this again. Third vote, if I can get it out, is for Gary Fuller. Fourth vote, Tiffany Gibson Pitts.
That was 6. Oh, maybe in 14.
Yeah.
Never mind, go ahead.
1, 2, 3, 4. So this is number 5. There should be 22.
Okay.
This is the fifth vote for Gary Fuller. Sixth vote, Tiffany Gibson Pitts and Robert Lofton. Seventh vote, Tiffany Gibson Pitts and Brandon Fincher. Eighth vote, Gary Fuller, David Cannon. Ninth vote, Gary Fuller, David Cannon. Tenth vote, Gary Fuller, David Cannon. 11th vote, Gary Fuller, Todd Rauch. 12th vote, Gary Fuller, David Cannon. 13th vote, Tiffany Gibson Pitts, Robert Johnson. 14th vote, Gary Fuller. 15th vote, Tiffany Gibson Pitts. 16th vote, Tiffany Gibson Pitts, Robert Lofton. 17th vote, Gary Fuller. 18th vote, Gary Fuller, Robert Lofton. 19th vote, Gary Fuller, Robert Lofton. 20th vote, Gary Fuller, Erica Baker Norris. 21st vote, Tiffany Gibson Pitts. And the last one, without cutting myself with this huge knife, '22nd vote, Gary Fuller.
Okay, we'll start with Gary Fuller. And so we started with 4,538 votes. And by my count, we have 14 additional. which would leave us, would give us 4,552. Is that right?
52.
4,552. Tiffany Gibson Pitts, 2,306 plus 8 would be 2,314. George Allen, 309. Melvin Brooks, 151. Elizabeth Burton, 68. Robert Johnson, 81 plus 1 would be 82. Jamie Lowe, 419. Alexis Minifield, 17. Ward 2, Erica Baker Norris, 1 provisionals for 740. And Oscar Penn, no provisionals for 486. Ward 3, Michael Carter, no provisionals, so 343. Robert Lofton, 4 provisionals for a total of 475. Kelly Thompson, no provisionals, so she has 219. And then Ward 5, Chuck Adams, no provisional, so he's at 306. David Cannon, 4 provisionals, makes him 447. Brandon Fitcher, 3 provisionals, 279. And Todd Rouch, 1 provisional for 762. Everybody get those same numbers?
I did.
Okay. At this point, I'll ask Mr. Gunner to give us our resolution.
Council has one resolution. This is the resolution canvassing the results of the August 25, 2020 general elections. We have, the President of the Council has just read the actual canvass results with the vote for each of the candidates. Based on that canvassing of the votes, Gary Fuller received a majority of the votes cast, and he is therefore declared elected to the office of mayor for the term beginning the first Monday of November 2020. There was no candidate that received a majority of votes for the council place number 1, that's in Ward 1, and the candidates receiving the most and second most votes were Jamie Lowe and George Allen. Therefore, a runoff election will be held between those candidates on Tuesday, October 6, 2020. Erica Norris received a majority of the votes cast for the office of council member place number 2, that's in Ward 2, and she is therefore declared elected to the office of council place number 2 for the term beginning the first Monday in November 2020. No candidate received a majority of the votes cast for the office of council member number 3 on the city council, and Robert Lofton and Michael Carter received the most and second most votes cast. Therefore, Robert Lofton and Michael Carter will be candidates on the runoff election to be held on October 6, 2020. Finally, no candidate received a majority of votes cast for the office of council member number 5, and Todd Rouch and David Cannon received the most and second most votes cast for that office. Therefore, there will be a runoff election between said candidates on October 6, 2020.
Is there a motion for approving the resolution just described by Mr. Gunner?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Having none, call roll, please.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. Pitts?
Aye.
Mr. Smithy?
Aye.
Mr. Cannon? Mr. Smith?
Aye.
All voted aye.
There being no other business come before this called meeting, can I have a motion for adjournment?
Move for adjournment.
And a second?
Second.
Call roll, please.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. Pitts?
Aye.
Mr. Smithy?
Aye.
Mr. Cannon? Mr. Smith?
Aye.
12:25.